I want to give you a little bit about the contest background. The UN Security Council passed Resolution 1540 in 2004 at a time when we saw the AQCON network marketing around the world the technologies and materials for making atomic weapons. Resolution 1540 obligates UN member states to develop and enforce legal and structural measures to prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery. It's a great resolution. But how can you actually prompt that resolve and get it fully implemented? About a year ago, Brian Finley, who's the president of the Stimson Center, and I were invited to speak to the 1540 committee and about some of our ideas on this. We discussed the need to leverage broader civil society to work on international security issues. And in particular, we noted that students are often innovators and that they are an untapped resource that can help us address those issues. That was the genesis of this contest, whose goal was to increase awareness on the important issue of proliferation and to gather some good thinking to inform the review of the resolution that is going on this year. The essay prompt, which I have to admit I fought a little bit with the UN 1540 committee people about, because it was so difficult, required students to pick a country and develop a 5-year action plan for implementing Resolution 1540 with suggested ways to measure outcomes. The resolution itself, if you haven't looked at it, is really difficult, technical. The matrix where countries show compliance with the resolution has like, I don't know, I would say 1,000 boxes. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. And so it was a highly technical type of question. And we hoped, and also we had a very short time to do the essay in because we wanted to be done by September 30th to inform the review. So given that, we said, okay, we hoped, 75 essays would be good. Hopefully we get 100. Well, we got twice that amount, and it was amazing. These essays came from students attending schools in more than 40 countries. And in addition to that, we wanted to have more knowledge given to the people who might access our website. Well, that blew us away too. We had more than 16,000 unique views from 165 countries of that webpage, where people clicked down for information about it. So a lot of people got to learn about this and what was going on, even if they didn't enter. So it was a highly successful event. The whole thing is, and hopefully we can go forward with more of it. And the interesting thing about this is it shows what partnering can do. What made this all happen? Why was this contest successful? Well, my Stimson colleagues had a lot to do with it. We have a lot of contacts around the world, but I wanted to thank a whole number of people. First and foremost, the Harvard Belfer Center, and recognize Marty Malin, who's here, managing the Atom Project, as well as Casey Campbell and also Sharon Wilkie in communications. They were really helpful. Other partners included the Asan Institute for Policy Studies in South Korea, the Institute for Security Studies in South Africa, the International Institute for Strategic Studies, and the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. I have to thank the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs and recognize Franz Kolar of UNODA, as well as his predecessor, Nikita Smitovich, who retired. And Nikita was very interesting because he said to me when we were brainstorming on this, I want proliferation to be like cannibalism. You just don't do it. So, the United States Department of State, of course, I have to thank Mr. Craig Finkelstein and his predecessor on the committee, Tyler Moselle, and the Finland Ministry for Foreign Affairs, who provided funding for this effort. Also need to recognize the Washington Foreign Law Society, where I'm on the Board of Governors. The Society's support for the rule of law, which this is what this 1540 is about, is what led it to contribute the financial awards to the contest winners, which I will present later today. Rose Morrissey, my research assistant at Stimson, who worked so hard on this. This much I know. A good idea, be it a resolution or the concept of student engagement, is nothing. It's just an idea without implementation. Rose came to know that policy matters are also process matters, and she has now mastered both. Thank you, Rose. Last but not least, I want to thank the 1540 experts, in particular Terry Taylor, the coordinator of the group of experts, and Michael Rosenthal, one of the experts, who helped shape this contest. Were up with me in responding to late night emails and ably facilitated the final winner selection. Thank you. I read all the entries. And let me just pause for a moment. One reason I wanted to start with the thank yous, where most people might do them at the end of the event, is because we did this with a whole bunch of partners. And that's what the essays were about. It was about partnering and not doing things on your own. And I think that's what the future of the world is about. Asking for help, asking for collaboration. So of all the entries I read, many noted that they needed help in doing risk assessments. So they're taking on the vision of a country. So you're supposed to write from a country perspective. And many said, how do I prioritize all the things that I'm asked to do? I need help from the experts or from other countries. Many of the essays talked about the need for cooperative strategies on border controls, potentially with neighboring states. So you only have to have one country patrol the border if you could trust the other country enough to do its border controls. Regional collaborations, perhaps in Western Africa, or regional collaborations in Asia. Many regional collaborations were suggested, as well as direct partnerships. A number of essays suggested that, for example, Japan partnered with a Southeast Asian nation to share practices that they have found useful, or that other resource-rich countries could pair with another less well-off country and even help them not only with implementation but reporting, because so many of these smaller countries, and I have friends who are like foreign ministers in some of the small Asian or Caribbean countries, they just can't keep up with all the reporting. So why can't we even help each other in that framework? And that came from the essay entries. The essays were also aspirational as well as inspirational. One creatively suggested that Brazil and Argentina share their bilateral nuclear inspections approach with India and Pakistan. Partnerships and collaborations asking for help, but not only in stopping bad things from happening. Many essays also focused on the importance of broader public engagement and having a larger development cooperative approach, including building harmonious relations among people and within countries and within regions. How can we make the world safer and more secure in many ways, not just by stopping the negatives, but by building the positives? And that's why it's so good to have you here today, to help us not just to stop the negatives, but also to think how we can work together to build up positive ways to engage. I'd like to introduce now someone who has worked both sides of that positive and negative equation, Dr. Gary Seymour. He's the Executive Director for Research at the Belfer Center. He spent more than 4 years as President Obama's WMD czar and many more years in government and in other areas working to build the positives and stop the negatives. So, Gary, thank you.